Now, most of you might know that my birthday just happens to fall on a specific holiday. A specific holiday which is synonymous with partying, drinking, and all-around debauchery. New Year's Eve. Now, birthdays 1 to 20 were quite uneventful, usually an all-night marathon of Godzilla movies and some friends. When my 21st hit, well, you can imagine the party I had then. A friend took me down to Chicago to party at the exclusive Excalibur, which is one of the few original buildings that survived the 1871 fire. I was promised 3 things that night: to have fun, to get drunk, and to get laid. Well, I had lots of fun, drank lots of alcohol, but still managed to walk back to our hotel room while my partner in crime was sadly taxied home. And sadly, no sexual encounters were to be had. But that's not the story I want to tell. No. The most interesting birthday I ever had was several years later in downtown Milwaukee. My friend figured that if I were not to get lucky in Chicago of all places, then Milwaukee it must be. When it came to football, my friend and I were bitter enemies. Him, a true fan of the Bears, and myself, a diehard Packers stockholder. But aside from that, my friend and I were as thick as thieves. Many of the adventure we had when we were attending college, but this particular occasion occurred after our graduation. He was already seeing a lady who would eventually become his wife, and it was their goal, as before, to make sure I had fun, got drunk, and got laid. I rarely, if never, put stock into such frivolous promises, but I welcomed the challenge since my tolerance of alcohol had grown exponentially since our last encounter. We traveled downtown and made our way to Bar Milwaukee, a hot spot for 20-somethings and teens with convincing fake IDs. We waited for the doorman to check our cards and then went inside to check our coats. Cover was $20, a far cry from the $60 tickets at the Excalibur, but it included free beer and wine, the snack bar in the rear, and a champagne toast at midnight. It was a bargain. We headed in and were immediately greeted with the resounding reverberations of the bass that was pumped through the converted warehouse. The walls were adorned in a flat black enamel that matched the simplistic look of the bar's logo, Bar Milwaukee. It was a simple bar that you would see on a slot machine, but instead of the word bar outside the solid ebony rectangle, it was the word Milwaukee. The DJ was high aloft in his black tower, surrounded by neon and scantily dressed ladies, all hoping to get their song played for the rest of their friends below. Opposite the interior from the tower was a riser adorned with leather couches and another bar. Between the tower and the riser, on the near side of the floor, was the main bar. A square of onyx bordered by a brass rail and 4 tall square pillars at the corners supported at the ceiling. Opposite the bar was the lounge, crowded with tables jam-packed with patrons who were under the guise that those tables belonged to them. In the middle of these 4 was the dance floor, a black and white checkerboard-tiled monstrosity. It was bland, it was scuffed, and that's all it had to be. My friend and I had been there before, hanging out at this new age bar/nightclub several times. We knew the lay of the land. We immediately headed for our usual haunt of the evening, the riser, but we were immediately stopped by bar security.
Sorry, pal. VIP lounge tonight.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, management is charging an extra $100 just to sit down.
Well, that's bullshit.
Tell me about it. These kids don't have that kind of money. Do yourselves a favor. Don't even bother. There's nothing more up there than down here except the couches.
So much for VIP. Thanks for the tip. We headed for the back, but didn't have much luck there either. Bros and jocks all guarded their precious discs on a stick by leaning over and exposing their bronze, roided arms as proof of ownership. It was fine, not like we wouldn't be moving around, which we always did. We had a routine. Drinks, dance with some of the ladies, invite them back to the bar for more drinks, more dancing, lather, rinse, repeat, until we would score. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but we always had fun, and we always respected the ladies. If they said no, then we backed off. What's the sense in having some fun with someone who doesn't want to have any fun? Most of the evening was a blur. It was a flurry of drinking and dancing and the like. At some point during the evening, I had completely lost track of my friend and his girlfriend, so I mainly stuck to one of the sides of the main square bar. We had started roughly at 8 p.m., and now it was nearing 11. And there I was, beer in hand, sitting at the bar, alone, still technically my birthday. What I failed to notice immediately was a girl in her early 20s, black mini skirt and a pink glitter halter top, dancing on the bar that I was sulking over. When I motioned for the bartender to fetch me another beer, that's when I noticed the shoe, with a foot in it, next to the ashtray, standing over my head. Holy crap, there's a leg attached to that foot. Fishnets. That leg's attached to a knee, and that knee's attached to a... Whoa. She wasn't strikingly beautiful, but at least a solid 7. She had dolled herself up in several layers of makeup. Plus, the low general lighting mixed with the neon flashing could have made Steve Buscemi look like Kate Upton, so I was just enjoying my point of view. I paid for another beer and stayed right where I was and gave her a friendly nod and smiled. She smiled back, and I didn't think much of it. I don't like to be pushy on women. It's just not my style. I'll present my case, then allow them to discern whether or not they want to spend time with me. What struck me as odd was that she was dancing on the bar, but no one was asking her to get down from there. So I could only assume she was hired by the bar to be there. Suddenly, I get a sharp poke in my shoulder. I spin around thinking that security is going to have a bug up their ass about something that someone that looked like me did, and they were going to ask me to leave. But to my surprise, it was an old high school buddy of mine. I was ecstatic because I hadn't seen him since we graduated high school, so it was nice to catch up. We hung around the bar while the girl continued to dance. The guys my old pal were hanging with were all gawking at the girl, trying to get her attention, but her eyes were constantly fixed on me for some reason. I shrugged it off as to tell her, "What you gonna do, hon? You got big boobs, a skirt so short we can see your religion. You're dancing on a bar." She smiled at me as if she understood exactly what I said in my mind. Was she paid to be friendly to random geeks like me, or was she generally interested? This was not my concern. For now. The clock continued to tick closer to midnight, and the drinks were flowing heartily. The laughs were getting louder, and the girl was still dancing. As midnight was getting closer, management ordered that the bartenders could start serving the champagne. It was a mad dash to be first in line, but it didn't matter. Everyone who paid the cover got a ticket, good for one free glass. Within 10 minutes, everyone had their glasses, and we were waiting for the ball to drop. I still had my ticket in hand and patiently waited for the ebb and flow of patrons to subside before I even attempted to get my fair share. I leaned towards the bartender and handed him my ticket. And while I waited, the girl, who had been dancing non-stop for the past few hours, finally stopped, took a knee, and whispered in my ear, "Don't you go anywhere." I felt like I was supposed to pick up a package and deliver it to Mr. X or something. I turned around to see my old high school chum giving me the thumbs up, and all the guys we were hanging with for the past hour all giving each other high fives. There was a buzz about them. At this point, I was at that moment where you've had just enough alcohol to obtain the perfect buzz. The noise gets softer, the room slows down just the right amount, but you still have full control of all your faculties. I had been a professional drinker throughout the majority of my college days and already lasted longer than most. And when you drink a lot, you begin to learn things about your body, mainly where that tank full indicator is. Now, I'm not talking when your bladder is full. I'm talking about when you've had enough alcohol, when your body will tell you,
don't take another drink.
I knew exactly when that was going to happen, and it was 3 drinks away. I budgeted the rest of my alcoholic time left. Let's see. I'll finish this beer in my hand, then the champagne toast, but then I can have one more and I'll be set. Now, I like to hold that very last one for last call, to keep the buzz going until I pass out. But fate had other plans. The bartender hands me my plastic champagne glass filled with what I could only imagine was $10 booze, and so, as I was instructed by the girl on the bar, I stayed put. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. My brain finally clicked on. She wanted me to stick around for midnight. 7, 6, 5. I had never had a New Year's kiss before. 4, 3, 2. I better make this son of a bitch count. 1. Happy New Year! The balloons dropped, the confetti flew, and Auld Lang Syne blared from the speakers. Boyfriends turned to girlfriends, husbands turned to wives, random strangers turned to prospective bedmates for the evening, and the tidal wave of kissing began. I turned sheepishly toward my lady on the bar and mouthed the words, Happy New Year. She, for the second time of the evening, stopped dancing, grabbed me by my collar, and locked lips with me for what seemed to be until 1 a.m. I could hear the hoots and the hollers from the posse I was with cheering me on. Our lips parted, and I knew. God damn it, I knew. I must have struck a chord. When a woman puts her own hand gently upon her chest and looks into your eyes and remains out of breath for the next few moments, you know you had just taken her breath away. Was it the excitement of the evening? Was it the alcohol? Was it that she had been dancing for 4 hours straight? Who gives a shit? For a moment, we were the only 2 people in the room. She stood back up and began to dance again. I turned around to the gang and gave a simple nod. You know what? Screw last call. I don't think I'm going to be in here till last call. Boys, another round. We all enjoyed a round of beers, and we talked and laughed, and intermittently, the girl on the bar would motion me to come over, and she would plant another deep kiss on me. I tried talking to her, but the room was way too loud to even get her name. I would simply play it cool until the party died down a little bit, and then would start the conversation. With my final beer out of the way, I quickly switched to water. I knew that if I had even one more drink, even a shot, that my body would violently reverse gears, and a professional never makes a rookie mistake. The excitement was dying slowly, and we were all just having a good time. No drama, no fighting, no excessive drinking, just fun. And I turned back to my lady on the bar, and I saw something that I had never seen before. Here in the bustle of the crowd, she had invited another girl up on the bar with her. A paler girl in comparison to her own rich tan. This new girl was a redhead and wore a floor-length sequin evening gown. Both women were quite endowed. As I was watching this transpire, the lady in pink whispered something into the redhead's ear and then pointed directly at me. I gave a shy wave and saw the redhead raise her eyebrows seductively and then whisper something into the lady in pink's ear. Could this be happening? Could there honestly be 2 girls interested in me here tonight? Have I been blessed by karma to finally achieve sexual greatness by being accompanied by 2 ladies at the same time? The 2 girls hopped down off the bar and headed to the dance floor. They turned back towards me and both motioned for me to follow them. It was my time to shine. I finished the rest of the beer I was holding and took one step. Wait a minute. I finished the rest of the beer I was holding. How did I get a beer? Who the fuck handed me a beer? The feet said, we're going to the dance floor. The hands said, we're going to grab so much titty. The penis said, jackpot! The stomach said, abort, abort, abort. The liver said, I fucking quit. And the brain said, head to the bathroom, maggot. Move it, move it, move it. I turned 3 shades of green and dashed for the bathroom. It took 6 hours to fill up my gut with liquor and only 10 seconds to empty it back out again. I was distraught. I was defeated. I had never violently puked like that whenever I drank before. But after it was all out, my eyes watery, the cool AC blowing on my face, I was determined to get back out there and reclaim my birthright. Security had another idea. They knocked on the stall I was in and asked if I was okay. I nodded, not wanting to exhale puke breath on them. And then my heart sank with their next words.
Sorry, buddy. It's bar policy. You get sick, and you gotta go. You have a ride, or do we need to call you a cab?
No. I was so close. This isn't fair. You guys don't know what it's like. I have never gotten this lucky in my entire life. I need this to happen. Please, you guys gotta let me stay, please. That's what went on in my head. But I was so surprised by the knock on the stall door that I contracted a mad case of the hiccups, and what came out was... Are you fucking kidding me? I sounded like Foster Brooks. I shut my mouth and just nodded. I held up one finger, hoping these guys would understand that meant yes to the first option.
Okay, kid, you know where your ride is?
I shook my head. My old college buddy had been MIA since 8 p.m.
All right, what's your name so we can get your friends to come get you?
Fuck, there's no way I could play charades with my name. That's one of the curses of having a Polish last name. Fuck that. I signaled for one of them to get me a piece of paper and a pen. I'll just write it down. There was no damn way I was communicating while I still had these hiccups. They fetched me a pen and paper and I wrote down my name. And then I remembered the second curse of having a Polish last name. People see the Z and the SKI. They freak the fuck out. What I heard over the loudspeaker was,
will the friends of Murphy Wasahowski please come and pick up your friend? He needs a ride home.
Well, good fucking luck with that shit, DJ Fuckbrain. But, in a stroke of luck, my friend's girlfriend was right behind me when I turned around. Oh, thank God. Did they just try to announce your name? Did they slaughter that shit? I nodded. Anyway, you gotta help me with your buddy. He's a goddamn zombie. She was not fucking kidding. Now, I have no idea what they were drinking, but not only was he 3 sheets to the wind, but he was walking like he was an extra from Thriller. We both had to prop him up over our shoulders and walk out into the cold Wisconsin winter air. They say that time is the only thing that can sober a man up. Well, obviously that man didn't live in Wisconsin. The 3 of us snapped back into a lucid sobriety the instant we stepped outside. None of us were in any condition to drive, so we hailed a cab and took the long ride back to my place, where the 2 lovebirds crashed on my fold-up couch and I collapsed in my bed. I never saw the lady in pink nor the redhead ever again. And that was the exact moment I began to believe in karma. I figured if karma wanted me to have those 2 girls, then she would have let me. So some force of nature forced me not to pursue those 2 girls. To this day, I will always wonder what I was saved from. A robbery? Murder? VD? Who knows? But since that fateful night in downtown Milwaukee, I have never, ever gotten that drunk again.